Hey, what is up, guys? Redden here. Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Friday, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be something. No, it's Comic Book Friday. Hello. So I've got this thought. I was watching. I don't remember what I was watching. I was watching probably some comic book content, and I got a thought about there is one issue that I really have with DC. Because recently, I don't know if you kind of know, but I got myself really into Marvel for whatever reason. And, I was like checking out their events, especially, because comics started getting the 2020, like the new run, of Thor, right? When he's teaming up with Galactus, then of course it goes on and on. As of today, issue number 7 just got released, so we're still waiting for issue number 7 of that. Really cool story. I enjoyed it, loved it. So I was like, okay, what's the next maybe event? What is happening, right? And the next is a King in Black with the Venom, and I was like, all right, cool. What do I need to read before get to the event? And it kind of turned out that all I kind of need to read is, of course, Jason Aaron Thor, which I kind of knew already. And then, and I looked like, okay, how does it look with youre? So it's like Jason Aaron run, there was Silver Surfer, Carnage, and Venom, right? And of course, those 6. I feel like until issue 10, I believe, at least those 6 first issues of the Thor. I'm like, okay, well, that's simple, Wait, so I was just reading kind of what I want to know, just getting the new issues every month. And now I can just go to event. I'm like, wow, that's cool. Right? Of course, you have to have the Venom, the Carnage, but that's not. And then it kind of struck me it's like, I've been collecting DC, right, for a long time. And, I have let's say Rebirth, we've got a lot of issues of Rebirth, and as a trade paperback. Because I know Poland is 3 years behind. I know, I know. Right, I know. Right now, Mighty Thor, the female Mighty Thor, 3rd paperback is being released, so we are still, 2 more to go, and the whole Jason Aaron 2017, no, 218 and, it's right, 2017 and 2019 run still has to go, so War of the Realms, I know, but I was like, okay, I was getting that. So when, in the New 52 and then the Rebirth was coming out, I was slowly getting, some issues, of course, for the DC. Because they were hardcover here, they were kind of expensive, the same goes Rebirth. I was like, hey, a few stories, sure, I'm gonna get it there a lot cheaper. And I was like, you know what? I want to get myself into metal. Why not? I think I have a collection. I was buying them kind of as they were kind of coming out. And I'm like, all right, let's go to DC Mel. What I need to know, what I have to read. And I'm primarily a Batman fan. That's what I'm reading. And then it kind of struck me. I've created the whole file for myself, when I did what I have to read. And it kind of hit me really, really hard when I was like, wait, okay, so for Mel, of course, there's a road to, I know I can just finish on that, but I don't. I want to get the whole gist of it, right? So I was like, okay, so I need Endgame. I'm like, that's volume 7. The Snyder run with Kurt Russell. I'm like, okay, that's 1 and 2, sure. Then we've got, Batman 7, that's an Endgame, so that's volume 7. Volume 8, kind of, but then 9 and Bloom. And I'm like, okay. Of course, there's a Joker story as well in this. And I'm like, wait, so why I do have, the other volumes? Why, I have Detective, why I have this and that. I'm like, why would I? And then I go, I'm like, okay, you know what, fine, those are 3 issues that I'm kind of missing. I'm like, okay, I wanted to buy them, still, for the collection. I'm like, okay, cool. Then of course I'm gonna get probably the Road to. And I was like, okay, you know what, but I'm curious, it's Death Metal, right? What do I want and what do I need to get to Death Metal? Because I saw the problem already with, with the DC Mel. Right, so there's Death Mel and Mel, okay? For those who don't know, right? Two events, Mel was first, and then right now is Death Mel. It's another crisis, right? So I started looking at it, and I'm like, I have a lot of Rebirth, I got it for birthday, I was pursuing it as it was coming out, and it turned out that out of all my, 10 Batman volumes, none of them is good. And I'm like, what? Then it turns out like only 2 All-Star Batmans, or like 3 first All-Star Batman trade paperbacks are good for that story. And I'm like, wait, what? And it really, really, really hit me there. It's like, I have this collection, but if I want event, I just don't have the issues. I don't have the trade paperbacks for it, so I still have to go and purchase them. It's so confusing, and it's so annoying. So I think the topic of today is just the confusion around those big events, and just them being, especially for the DC. I know those are like big battles, you got people, superheroes from all over the place. But that's what I kind of feel like, the stories that are being told, they should slowly lead up to it. But if there's an event, you can okay, what do you need to read? Well, there's Batman coming out for one last year, 4 trade paperbacks of that. Cool. Done. Maybe I'm not a fan of Justice League. Maybe I'm gonna, do I need it? And it turns out, well, for that Mel, you kind of need all of it, right? Because for the Mel, you only need new 52. No, you only Dark Side Wars. So it's like, okay, so those are again like Dark Side Wars, right? Those are volume 6 and 7, I believe. So like your first 5 volumes of the New 52, yeah, you can trash them. Like they are, they're cool stories, but they're not moving it forward, kind of, right? So that's a huge problem to me. So I really started thinking about how actually convoluted that is, and it took me back to when I was reading and I was going with New 52 Batman. So I have I'm looking there because I have them there because I didn't want to bring the stack of the comic books. So my problem kind of began when they released all the, because again here we don't have issues, right? Like single issues. We have to there are 2 stores where I really want to get to, getting the single issues of specific Batman, and other stuff. But right now Thor, this at least it's at least a story that leads to, right? So to do King in Black, so that's a different one. So I was like, you know what? Especially at the time, I was like, you know what? Okay, there's this New 52 thing. Let's get the Batman thing. So there's a Batman, there's Detective Comics, and there was All Star. So I was like, you know what? Okay, let's get Batman Volume 1, and let's get maybe Detective myself, right? The whole hardcover trade paperback, so that's what we got. They're really, really expensive here in Polish, which is again not the story right now because they are quite cheap. So I'm reading, I think I've started with Detective, and I remember myself reading with Detective. I was like, wait, this is supposed to be a reboot, right? But they didn't reboot it. They've kept the continuity, kind of. And I'm like, okay, so I'm reading. I'm like, wait, I'm missing the kind of pieces in between, the things. I'm like, okay, wait, let me just browse the Batman hardcover, New 52, Volume 1. I'm browsing, oh wait, those pieces that I was missing, they are over here. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then, of course, time passed, I got a few of them, and then we've gone last year to London, where they had a bargain bin with some New 52. So I was like, you know what, they're £2, for a trade paperback. I'm like, you know what, I don't have them, why not? I'm just gonna grab a few of them. So one of them was Batman Volume 4 After Death in the Family, Clay, and Penguin the Emperor. I believe those 3. So I was like, okay, I have until Death of the Family, so I'm just gonna jump in, right? So I reread everything, from Batman until that point, Death in the Family, the new one, right? I'm like, okay, Volume 4, let's jump in. And literally from the get-go, they're talking about stuff that didn't happen in those first 3 volumes. They're happening about something that happened in All-Star and also in Detective, and I'm like, why? Why would you? I mean, I get the continuity, but I just want to buy one book and have the whole story. And on top of that, when you want to get to event, and this is what pissed me off, because this is something I have to argue at home with Kovac, because she's a Marvel person, right? I know, okay, tie-ins, we're going to touch upon tie-ins, in a second, right? But first of all, I so don't understand that. I mean, I know from the company point of view, you want to make money, and you know you actually really want to get a lot of product, so people are purchasing, so you're getting more revenue, right, and get more money, because more product means more money. That's a simple principle. But I think the biggest problem is, and that's kind of when I was like watching, I think that was Comic Story, and he kind of touched upon that. For us, it's an online store, or at least here for me. But I imagine, you know, again, remember going to the comic book store in, you know, in Prague, wherever. You just go in and you see the wall of like new this week, and you see like 5 different Batman issues, and you go like, wait, I wanna, I would like to start. Where do I? And you're like, okay, so I'm gonna get. I just like Batman, you know. Maybe, but I like him as a detective, so I'll maybe get detective. Okay, so I get this. So grab detective, but you know, and go like, okay, is that enough? And then you're like, well, but I also kind of need that. But also there's a Joker word. But also there is Hellerism. Also there is this. There's that. And now you have a stack like that, and it's still not enough. And for the event that might occur, right? All of that might not even be valuable or valid, right? Like, that's what drives me nuts. Because, I mean, I'm going to even show you, because I have, like, on my phone, because I've sent it to myself on email, so I always have it somewhere. And I've done it myself. So, I don't know, I'm probably going to, like, give it, because I was, like, scattering, you know, 4 and white for send, okay, I'm just gonna, nope, yeah, checklist. So I've created my own checklists, so like, you know, for example, I've got for King in Black. So that's quite simple. You've got Thor, War of the Realms, right, tie-ins to War of the Realms, cool, you know, we've got, Silver Surfer, Carnage, Venom, and of course the 6 issues of Thor, War of the Realms. Same thing. You just got Thor and tie-in stories, right? And Road 2, right? Great. You've got what DC Mel, and I'm looking at this, right? Because again, that's kind of what I found on the internet, you know, the complete before. So we've got, as I said, right, random volumes 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, Batman and Robin, Justice League 6 and 7, Batman All-Star 1 and 2, and then Road to Mel, right, Dark Knights. Then of course you got, you know, Death Metal right now, so you've got, again, what you need from Mel, Doomsday Clock, which is okay, got it, you know, Rebirth, Hell Arisen, Year of the Villain, Batman Who Laughs, and a lot of Justice League, and also DC, and also No Justice. So for many, you know, we like events, I do like them, but many will not even get to that point if you're not, you know, getting and reading. And also, if you're reading only one book, you're screwed, because, like, as you said, as you've seen, Death Metal, only Justice League books. Like, okay, you got Mel, you know, No Justice, Doomsday Clock, the beginning of Rebirth, right? You know, it was a Pin, I believe that's the comic book name, because I have only Polish, and well, you know, some Hell Arisen. That's it. Justice League, right? So that is like a really huge issue, because you look, you know, at a specific point in time, and you go like, okay, so all of those books, if I want to go back and I want to have, like, you know, get nice reading material, I have like a week off, you know, I just want to read and get to the event, you look and you go like, okay, fast forward, couldn't care less, All-Star Western, couldn't care less. We've got, I'm just like looking, you know, literally whole Rebirth, couldn't care less, right? Beside like 2 issues, you know. Why would this has to be so convoluted? And it really pisses me off. Because then, you know, Kovac comes in and goes like, yeah, I just have to read, you know, Thor from this point to this point. Right? Of course, it's like, you know, last 4 years of Thor, but like, you got to start and end of the story, kind of, and you go like, okay, now it moves on. Great. So I would like to see now them doing because those events are good, like the Mel, there are Mel, the Batman Who Laughs, it created many characters, but it's just getting to those really hard. Of course, yeah, you can say, like, yeah, but you got the Road to, right? Like, Road to has like 300 pages, and you've got the Ultimate Crisis, and a few other things. Yeah, sure. But sometimes, you're the kind of completionist in you goes like, okay, but I don't want to miss anything, right? So you get a guidebook. Because, of course, Death Metal has a guidebook, which should have been released before Death Metal, but it was after issue number 1, I believe, or issue number 2. Then, you want to get to something else. And then, on top of that, you got tie-ins. And honestly, I know, like, in terms of tie-ins, Marvel is, in terms of like releasing them as the series goes, is quite weird, because like, you got a War of the Realms, and we're at issue 3, and the tie-ins that were released after issue 3 were going in between issue number 1 and 2. Super weird, I know. But like, once you've waited long enough and you have those trade paperbacks, I know, yeah, you should still, it's kind of like, you wanted the story now, but you don't want it, like, I know. But once you wait, and you get the trade paperbacks, it's quite simple. You've got maybe 1 or 2 like main books that led up to the event, and the rest is just tie-ins. In one book, like Punisher, or what else, like X-Men, right? Like, I don't read those books, right? I don't have a Punisher, but the tie-in book literally gave me everything I wanted to know. It's like, okay, we got a Punisher at the start of War of the Lambs. Then, we've got this tie-in here, which gave me everything I need to know, and I can move on, right? There's no, like, okay, if you're not going to read it, you're going to miss something. And that's the thing with DC. If you're not going to read something, you might actually miss this little thing. Which comes down to, again, the simple fact of just them being completed. Like, too many titles of one book. I know they kind of cut them down, and, hopefully they're going to realize, okay, listen, let's just get into one Batman. Like, let's start releasing one, right? And just do that. Just let's get one, nice issue by issue, then something, right? Or maybe, if we're releasing it in that way, maybe not get into so many cross things in between series, like All-Star, let it be All-Star. Batman, let it be Batman. Detective, let it be Detective. Fine. Let's not move this story from, like issue number 3. Then you have, to understand the full issue number 3, you gotta read issue number 5 of this one, because it happened before. But to understand this, you gotta read. It's just a fucking mess, and I hate it. Because it really prevents you from enjoying the book for what it is. Because sometimes, let's say the Emperor Penguin, right? Like that issue. Because I think I was reading it, I believe 2 months ago. I was like, I think 2 months ago. And I'm like opening, I'm like, you know what, okay, I feel like maybe, I feel in between of the mood of the Penguins. I'm like, oh, you know what, that's a good trade paperback. I'm just going to grab it and, read it. And then I've opened it, I'm like reading a few pages, and I realized, okay, I don't really remember what happened in those other books, right? So I'm kind of behind the action again. I have to like reread the whole thing just to understand that plot. And then you go like, okay, but I might not have that issue. I might not have that. And it's just, I feel like DC, especially, I know I'm giving the Batman example because that's what I own and that's what I know from experience. If something like that is happening to the other books, let me know. I'm more than happy to actually get into that. But the whole thing is, it's just to get the most money off, and that's why like honestly, I was more happy to help cover collect Thor this year than me getting into like again issue by issue Batman, because I'm like, you know what, okay, I can buy issue by issue, great, but none of those is going to be a key. None of those, well, besides like 1027, right, those is going to maybe matter in whatever event they want to do along the way, right? Of course, the one shots from the mail, I gotta still order that, but like that's what I have in the back of my head. What if this book of this story is not even going to matter for the big event? And I know it's kind of a weird thing to say. It's like, yeah, you should, love everything. But at the end of the day, I really enjoy those big events, and they are really good, and I want to enjoy them in its entirety. And well, you only have this amount of money, and there's this amount of things to buy. So I don't want to be picky. I want to get every single month an issue that will lead me up to something, and maybe nice payoff. Maybe 3 years from now, right? But one title and you go. You have. That's it. But it's really hard to do right now with the stories. Like even getting to Death Metal, like they're just shot. Those tie-ins and the one, not even like the one shots. They're not even called tie-ins, but they're like one shots. And I'm like, whoa, which one? Whoa. Just relax, guys. So yeah, that's kind of a huge thing for me, and I wish they would actually repair it. I wish they would actually figure out, hey, listen, we're gonna do something about it. And that is one thing that Marvel is doing right, which was really surprising to me, and I hate to admit that. I really hate to admit that, but from the perspective of someone that was like really behind and just have to like purchase stuff with trade paperbacks, like not going in, and even like right now I don't think we would ever like go to King in Black if the story wouldn't lead up to it, right? It was like, okay, those issues we can move forward. Issue number 10, I believe there's a cover with Thor, Venom Thor, kind of like with the Venom symbol on his chest. I'm like, right, that's cool. We got a year of stories. Conclude. I mean, I wouldn't mind having 3 years, but if everything would mattered, right? So what do you think? What do you think about this whole thing? Do you enjoy the way it is that, especially DC, just skips so many stories for those bigger events, and you just go like, okay, Justice League, that's it? Or you're kind of like, okay, there's this one guy that I have to read. I have to go through one person, and there's gonna be a story around him. So like here we've got Thor, Carnage, Venom that are going, and you got a King in Black. Or you got Thor, and you've got War of the Realms, and there are just tie-ins that are giving you the nice gist of stories, and maybe a guidebook, right? I think the guidebook is really, really cool idea, and I wish they would make them bigger, or the Road to, kind of like the Road to Mel, like really nice, thick, and just to give you all the issues that were in the past that are going into the event. I would love to see that more often. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching. Just me rambling for 20-some minutes. If you enjoyed those comic book Fridays, let me know. I don't know when this episode is going to come. Probably in 3 weeks, because this, probably when you're hearing that, it's like, it's already happened. But I think there's like 3 Jokers. I've already recorded that. The book number 1, the book number 2 is coming my way at this time of recording. So it's gonna be this, and then it's gonna be this episode. So thanks so much for watching. It's going to have a fantastic rest of the day. Take care. Love ya. Bye.